questions about Vice President Harris' political future after a brutal assessment in the Washington Post, I should say, in a piece titled, "Some Democrats Are Worried About Harris's Political Prospects." More than a dozen Democratic leaders vented their concerns about Harris leading their party in the future or even returning as the vice president in 2024. The Post summing it up this way, quote, "Harris's tenure has been underwhelming," they say, "marked by struggles as a communicator and at times near invisibility, leaving many rank-and-file Democrats unpersuaded that she has the force, charisma, and skill to mount a winning presidential campaign." And this may be an example of the communication struggles her critics are talking about.
We are doing the work that is about collaborating around the small businesses that will need to do the work. That's also what's also exciting about our small businesses and who they are, because it spans the generations in addition to being intergenerational.
Are these new green buses going to keep their signature yellow color?
These are going to remain yellow school buses, because who doesn't love a yellow school bus? They will remain yellow, but their heart will be green.
Oh, my God. Okay, and I haven't been to Europe either. So, Emily, when you read that article, do you agree? Is she not a good communicator, underwhelming, has almost been invisible? These are Democrats. These are 12 Democratic leaders. Most of them didn't want to give their names.
Yes, yes, I agree with their assessment. And I think for those of us like myself who grew up under California, under her growing up in the political scene, have been seeing this for years, which is for some reason a huge, smoke-blown facade that has been propped up and has continued to prop up her political career and her aspirations with not really a fundamental achievement cadre underneath. She hasn't accomplished anything. That's what I'm trying to say. And yet, for some reason, she went from DA to Attorney General to Senator, and there were a lot of scandals that were squished down. There were questions that were stamped down. There was a lot of money that was raised by certain entities that had been hushed. And for those of us who lived there under her watch, we kind of keep scratching our heads. On top of that, there are so many allegations of toxicity, her failures at leadership, and then now under her vice presidential watch, I see her failures every day, first and foremost at that southern border. So none of us are surprised. And I think the Post and the editorial board has been a voice of reason and common sense this entire time. But I see within the Democrat Party, there are those who are daring to speak up, but there are those that are staunchly, steadfastly committed to her, like Senator Warren says, "Oh, it's all Biden-Harris and I'm here." I'm not sure what that will play out in the primary war, but I will be popping some popcorn and enjoying it every step.
Katrina, when you watched Senator Warren, when she was asked, do you want him to run again? And she said, oh, yes. Do you want Kamala to be the vice president? She said, I defer to President Biden. And then she rolled that back and said, no, I want them to be on a ticket together. But if you watch that interview, for her just to even say, I defer to him, instead of automatically saying yes, doesn't it show she's not too sure she really wants her to be the vice president?
Absolutely. And I think she totally backtracked. And what this reminds me of, Emily, is you and I actually had a discussion here on the couch a few months ago about how Kamala was going through all of these different speechwriters, right? Because she was having a difficult time communicating. But, and here I am having a difficult time communicating. But no, but the point is that I don't think communication is the issue. I think the point is that she's simply not a leader. Like you said, she hasn't accomplished anything. A leader commands a presence. They walk into a space. They have a vision and they help people with the tools necessary to be able to execute on that vision. She's done none of that. And that's why we, as the American people, I don't think that we feel confident in her, and many Democrats don't feel confident in her. And this also brings up another point to me, and I may be going in a different direction here, but it also reminds me of when you as a woman are in a relationship with a man and he is ready to lead and provide and protect, you as a woman take a step back and you embrace your femininity, right? Because you feel like he could lead. And that's what this reminds me of too, is like no one has confidence in her. So she's not a leader to begin with.
Well, actually, I was going to pick up on that, because if you go on and read in the Post and the editorial, what they say, I think, here's what they really say. Many Democrats worry that Biden's age is a liability. He would be 86 at the end of a second term, but they also fret there is no alternative, and that she has not had the ability to capture the party's imagination, let alone 270 electoral votes. She never got to voting in the primaries.
Yes, she had such a great opportunity, though. So many women were excited about her. You know, she's She was the first woman of color to be vice president. And what does this mean for the future, possibly as a president one day? Her resume is amazing when you look at what she's done in California. But we are not, our country overall is not California. Those are not our politics. Todd, this was a guy, his name is Eric Allen. He's the chair of the Cobb County Democrats. He said something interesting. I want to hear your opinion as a man. He said there's a segment that just won't vote for a woman as president. There's another segment that won't vote for an African American. Having two of those checked boxes, you're just going to have a higher threshold regardless. Hillary Clinton had just one of those boxes checked. She was vilified and beat up to the point that she couldn't recover. Do you agree, or has our country gotten past that?
I think there is some truth to that, but I think at the end of the day, if the right candidate is in there on either party, that candidate, black, woman, it won't matter. That person,
as long as they're
will
qualified,
be the next president or a president at some point down the line. And what I find interesting about this is what's happened this year, just 2023. First, Democrats went after Joe Biden on the document scandal. Then they're going after Kamala. And now they kind of did nothing with regard to any criticism over these two over the first 2 years, right? And so that begs the question that you were talking about. What are these people trying to set up, these leakers who are trying to go after Joe and Kamala? Because who's their alternative? Mayor Pete, the transportation secretary, who did a horrible job with, wait for it, transportation. So it's a little bit concerning and confusing, the motives. But if I could just do one more topic that you raised earlier, Kamala in the California media. I was in the California media when Kamala was making her rise. And there was such a lack of self-criticalness with regard to her that she was able to rise being unscathed. I mean, nobody thought about her. It was like, oh, Kamala's there. Oh, she's the next senator. She is this. There was never any critical thinking with regard to her. And as a result, she got here kind of without any questions.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.